And welcome to Verbal on Life. My name is Noel. We're going to check out Sunday Morning with Maria Bartiromo. I love saying her last name because I can't even pronounce it. But thank you for joining me. Let's take a look on this beautiful Sunday, August 11th. My internet sucks for some reason, so I got to figure that out. But let's check it out.
UK. It's all right here, right now on Sunday Morning Futures. And we begin this Sunday morning with the battleground push toward Election Day and efforts to ensure a fair election come November 5th. Now, 86 days away. Early voting beginning in key battleground states next month in early September. The Republican National Committee demanding transparency and election integrity, filing lawsuits and hiring new staffers to help clean up the voter rolls. This week in Clark County, Nevada, home of the state's largest city of Las Vegas, Republicans removed over 90,000 inactive voters from the rolls. And then in Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin issuing an executive order mandating that all votes cast in November's presidential election be done by paper ballot.
And that's the guy that didn't want to help Trump when Trump was asking to find 11,000 votes.
Strict chain of custody in place. Meanwhile, the House passed the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act last month. It would require proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections, but 198 Democrats voted against it. The Senate leadership has not brought the SAVE Act to the floor for debate and is unlikely to do so. Meanwhile, Wisconsin Representative Brian Stile, chairman of the Administration Committee, is launching an investigation into the Democrats' main funding vehicle, Act Blue, and asking whether or not foreign money is being donated to Democrats. Now, with 10 million illegals crossing into America on the Biden-Harris administration's watch, New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney says many illegals apparently are already registered to vote, and Democrats are not interested in voter security.
We had a bill that required proof of citizenship for voting, the SAVE Act. 198 Democrats voted against it, and Chuck Schumer refuses to bring it up on the Senate floor, and Joe Biden promised to veto it if it passed. So they are all for non-citizen voting. That is undermining our process and our system. This is what we've got to look out for. Are the Democrats in Democrat states going to starve these local governments and the state governments from having the resources they need to watch what happens at the polls? Because this is the key thing, Maria. Once that ballot gets in the box, you can't turn it around.
Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the chairman of the Republican National Committee, Michael Whatley. Michael, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's always great to join you, Maria.
Give us your reaction to all of this. Claudia Tenney, Brian Stile say there are illegals registered right now to vote in this presidential election.
Yeah, it's a huge problem that we're fighting in every single state right now. We have filed over 100 lawsuits from the RNC to try and make sure that we have election integrity across the country. We want to get the basics of election law right. Only American citizens can vote. You have to have a voter ID. States need to clean up their voter rolls. And if you have mail-in voting, then we want basic safeguards put in place, like you must have a signature, you must have a witness. We want those in the mailboxes, not the drop boxes, and you have to have them in by Election Day. When we get the rules of the road in place right away before the voting starts, it's going to make a tremendous difference.
Well, I mean, look, there are plenty of states that say no voter ID. Do not bring your ID when you come to vote. A lot of Democrat states. And then you also have Merrick Garland, the attorney general, saying that he will vow to stop any voter ID efforts. What's wrong with having an ID to vote? And tell me about this last lawsuit that you just filed against the White House for doing just that.
Yeah, well, what we want to do is make sure that we have that in place. We're going to go aggressively to file it. The fact is, you have to have an ID to go to Kamala Harris's rallies. You have to have an ID when you go to pick up a prescription or fly on an airplane. Yep. You should have an ID when you go to vote. We are pushing right now with a lawsuit against the Biden administration for encouraging illegal aliens to vote, for encouraging and requiring all federal departments and agencies to go out and register voters, whether they're legal or not. And they're pushing very aggressively on anybody getting benefits to be automatically registered. So,
it's crazy that we're doing this now in 2024, something that just seems logical to have an ID, because you need an ID for everything else. You need an ID to drive, to buy liquor, just to get around. You need an ID once you become an adult. And that's something you quickly learn as you become an adult in America.
There's a big push on that. The second component for election integrity is you got to be in the room. We announced when Laura Trump and I took over at the RNC 4 months ago that we were going to recruit over 100,000 volunteers into our national program, our Protect the Vote program. Happy to say that we've already got 157,000 volunteers who've registered for that program. We're going to continue to push for the next 87 days to make sure that we have the biggest, most robust national election integrity program in the history of the country.
Well, I've got a couple of questions on just based on what you just said. First of all, the White House, this lawsuit against the Biden administration for encouraging illegals to vote. How are they doing that? I mean, there are 10 million illegals in the country right now under the Biden-Harris administration because of the wide open border. What specifically are they doing to encourage them to vote?
Well, there's two things. First off, Kamala Harris has openly said that she is going to give them amnesty, make them citizens, and allow them to vote. Secondly, the Biden administration issued an executive order where they are requiring every federal department and agency to do everything they can to register all of these people as voters. We're seeing it right now in many different states, and we're pushing back with lawsuits. And thankfully, we've got people like Brian Stile in the House committee. We've got great attorneys general like Jason Miyares down in Virginia. We've got Governor Youngkin, who is doing everything he can to try and help there. And all across the country, we're seeing Republican governors, attorneys generals, and secretaries of states who are making sure that it is going to be easy to vote and hard to cheat.
Well, look, we know that oftentimes they are issuing driver's licenses to some of these illegals coming into the country after they get processed. Is a driver's license proof of citizenship?
No, it's not, especially when you have states like Arizona and Nevada and others that are giving driver's licenses to illegal aliens under their state law, and then they're automatically registering anybody with a driver's license. These are the types of changes that we're fighting to implement across the country.
Which states specifically are you worried about? Because this is up to the states.
Well, I worry about every state, Maria. I think that what we need to do is have every state follow Glenn Youngkin's lead. We need Frank LaRose up in Ohio just did a great job announcing a series of changes that they're making in Ohio. So we have leaders right now, and we need every state to follow them.
Look, we're talking this morning about policy. We focused on policy last week when President Trump joined me, and we're waiting to see what policies Kamala Harris is going to unveil, because so far there's not a word about what she wants to do should she get to the White House. There's no plan on her website. She hasn't articulated anything, except now she is saying that she in Las Vegas or in Nevada, where she's talking to lots of service people, and she says that she's not going to tax their tips, just like President Trump said so long ago. That's the only policy that she's talked about.
Look, I think that what we have seen coming out of this campaign over the last 2 to 3 weeks is a stunning turnaround for Kamala Harris. She has basically said that she supports fracking. She said that she's going to shut down the border. She said that she is going to fight inflation. Now she says that she is going to no tax on tips, the way that President Trump has said it. Her flip-flops are coming at an amazing rate. And you have to wonder, is she truly saying that the Harris-Biden administration was completely wrong for the last 4 years on every issue that matters to the voters? Or is she just pandering to them because she knows there's an election coming up in 87 days?
Well, that's what we want to know. How much should we be trusting in some of these comments? Look, the DNC is a week away. They're going to have their convention. You had an incredibly successful Republican National Convention a couple of weeks ago. But going into the DNC, what are you doing on the Republican side? It's going to be all Hollywood. Next Sunday, you know that President Obama, President Clinton will all be there, along with celebrities celebrating the Democrat ticket.
Well, they're certainly going to have a show. There's no question about it. What we're going to do is go talk directly to the American voters. We're going to continue to talk to every American family. President Trump is the only candidate right now who is even interested in uniting this country. He's the only candidate who is going to work every day, as he showed us during his 4 years in office, that is going to protect the southern border. He is going to build our economy, and he's going to restore our standing.
It's crazy that a businessman like Donald Trump had to get on board to pass all these things. The politician, I think, they get voted in, and they're talking about fixing problems, but they don't really do much. The problems are still there. So then like that, they can continue to always promise that they're going to fix the problems. Never come around to it, and nobody holds them accountable. For the first time, we got a businessman going into office. Hopefully he'll win coming up in November and fix things.
In the world. Right now, those are the issues that American voters care about, and we're going to continue to play offense and talk to those voters every single day.
All right, Mr. Chairman, good to have you on the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, RNC Chairman Michael Whatley, thank you. And now this.
What's so obvious about what happened in Romania, Joe Biden just flew down there and was talking about foreign policy and foreign aid. And as soon as he left, while he was vice president, Maria, and this is very important, while he was vice president and in charge of foreign policy for Romania, his family started receiving payments from a Romanian foreign national, a corrupt Romanian foreign national. It makes no sense. The payments, the way they were sent, were intended to be laundered through shell companies while he was vice president.
And that was House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer with me on Maria Bartiromo's.
You know, I really hate how easy it was to impeach Trump when he was in office twice. They just had a conversation and quickly went to vote and got him impeached. You know, not fully impeached, but at least halfway there. But for Biden, they are showing all the evidence and putting it all out there, and they can't even bring it to the floor. They can't even say, let's impeach this guy. All they do is just make these promises, and threats, and nothing happened. That's one of the things I don't like about politics. Like, what do they know that we don't? How was it so easily done to Trump, but not to this guy?
Wall Street on Fox Business last year, July of 2023. He detailed the Biden family's business dealings with Romania while Joe Biden was vice president. This week, 13 months later, President Biden's DOJ said Hunter Biden accepted money from a Romanian oligarch convicted in his native country of bribery by lobbying U.S. government officials to try and influence policy. Exactly what we've been talking about for so long. Special counsel David Weiss's office disclosing the information in a filing on Wednesday this week in Hunter Biden's tax fraud case.
Again, nothing matters. None of this matters unless something happens or something gets done. And this president's almost over. That's it. These are his last 6 months.
That's set to begin trial on September 5th in Los Angeles. The revelation just 17 days after President Biden announced he was withdrawing from the presidential race. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Michael Waltz, a member of both the House Intelligence and Armed Services Committees. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. I want to get to foreign policy with you, but First, give us your take on this, because James Comer sent a letter to President Biden a long time ago, March of last year. And in that letter, he says the committee has accounted for over $24 million that has flowed from foreign sources to you, your family, and their business associates. The committee has identified no legitimate services to merit such lucrative payments. You've repeatedly denied playing any role in your family's business activity, but the committee has amassed evidence, including bank accounts, bank records, witness testimony that contradicts your position on the.
Really? A letter? Like, nobody sent a letter to Trump. They just went ahead and voted to impeach him. Like, what are we talking about here? Why are they sending Biden a letter? And you know what I think he did with that letter? He just took it, came in the mail, and threw it in the garbage can. Like, yeah, whatever. Keep it moving. Like, what the hell is this? And then they made the letter public, and that's why we are listening to it right now. But this is ridiculous. Comment down below. What do you think? It's so quick to impeach Trump, but not this guy.
These matters. Joe Biden has not responded. Is this all going away now that Joe Biden stepped out of the race?
Yep.
No, Maria, it's not. We have a duty to pursue this on committee, and I give Chairman Comer a lot of credit for continuing to just chase the facts. And the end of the day, Hunter Biden was used as a foreign agent. He's in violation of the Foreign Agent Registrations Act to influence policy with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was complicit. So not only is he guilty of money laundering, not only should he be charged with tax evasion, which finally, thanks to the committee's work, he is being charged with, but he acted as a foreign agent. And this isn't from New Zealand or the United Kingdom.
Why do I feel like at the end of the day, if he does get found guilty, the president, who is his father, is just gonna pardon him. Like, you don't gotta go to jail, you don't gotta do anything, you are pardoned. Because look at all the charges they're talking about. It's crazy.
This is from Russia, from China, from our adversaries, and from corrupt officials all over the world. Biden knew, and just as Harris, or just as the people around Biden knew that he was inept and incompetent and incapable of doing the job, they also knew that all of this was going on. And we're going to continue to pull that thread, and politics be damned. We're going to get to the truth, and we're going to expose it to the American people.
Wow, that's just pretty incredible, by the way. I want to get your take on what's going on in these plots to assassinate President Trump. There's an assassination task force, and we know that a Pakistani man with ties to Iran has been charged with a plot to carry out a political assassination on President Trump. What can you tell us about this?
Bullshit.
Well, here's the problem, Maria, is we are getting more and more visibility on all the Secret Service failures that happened around Butler, Pennsylvania. But not a single person has been disciplined, has even been suspended pending the investigation. They're out still doing security today. On top of that, you have multiple assassination plots from the Iranians. This Pakistani national was recruiting females as spotters. He had recruited hitmen and had made a down payment. He was even recruiting protesters as a distraction.
All of that for nothing, because all it took was a 20-year-old maniac who went on the roof and just took a shot at the president. And also, if this would have been somebody else, like an Obama attempt, this would have been in the news for like a whole year or two. For like a whole presidential term, it would have been all over the news. But because it was an orange man, it only got like a week or two of news. And then let's stop talking about it. That's crazy.
And yet the Department of Justice, when they unveiled the indictment, didn't even name Trump as the target. They tried to soft pedal it and just say, oh, it was a politician. So this wasn't an isolated incident in Butler, PA. These plots from Iran are ongoing. And when Biden says nothing, Harris says nothing, the DOJ tries to bury it, what message does Iran get? They get that we can keep trying to take Trump out and have no consequences. They tried to hack his campaign, or did hack his campaign this week. They're trying to kill him. And we know from the intelligence community, Iran doesn't want Trump back. Why?
It just sounds like an all hands on deck. The goal is to take out Orange Man, and everybody's just trying. Yo, shout out to the Orange Man. This man is strong, unbelievable, able to just deflect all these bullets and just take all these hits and keep them moving, not quitting. That's an example for children.
Because he held them accountable. And you overlay that with how has Biden and Harris treated Iran? Well, Iran knows that they're sympathizers. Just last week, we had 6 American soldiers get sent to critical condition after our bases had been attacked once again. And what has Harris said? Nothing. What has Biden said? Nothing. What Trump knows, what Bibi Netanyahu knows, is sometimes you have to escalate and punch the bully in the mouth in order to de-escalate. Biden-Harris continues to appease Iran, and the Middle East is on fire because of it.
Oh, so many issues there to discuss. I mean, you know, number one, on the assassination attack on July 13th, it's amazing to me that here we are almost a month later, and we don't know many details at all about the plot to take down President Trump. We know so much about a plot to attack America or attack the concert of Taylor Swift. By the way, we know a lot of details on that, and that happened just a week and a half ago. We still don't have much detail on what took place in the epic security failures of the Secret Service on July 13th.
Yeah, the FBI and the Secret Service are moving at a snail's pace with this investigation. And I certainly have encouraged the task force. We need to get in their spaces. We need to see their data. We need to see these encrypted accounts that he had in 3 different countries, in Belgium, in New Zealand, and in Germany. What was that all about? There's so much to get the bottom of, but the plots are ongoing, Maria. Trump is...
And it's like, how can you let Trump go back into office? There's so much information on paper and that they know they're going to be his employee, right? The FBI, the CIA, everybody's going to work for the president. So if Trump gets in, what are they going to do? What are they going to do with all this information? When he starts asking questions like, what happened here? Why? Yo, it's going to be crazy time. I think they are all hands on deck not to let him get into office.
Still out there.
Right. Before you go, real quick, Congressman, this commission formed by Congress releasing a report, the Commission on the National Defense Strategy, a 132-page report that the security environment is incredibly dangerous right now for America, that the U.S. is being outpaced by China, the commission noted, estimating that Beijing is spending at least $711 billion annually on defense, rising to meet Washington's $900 billion annual defense budget. And the report concludes that if there were a conflict between the U.S. against China and Russia, the U.S. would lose. What do you want to say about the U.S. military today?
We have to have President Trump back as commander-in-chief, period. And he has to put a team in that will clean house in the Pentagon, start firing people, and start demanding results. And the last thing America could survive is another 4 years after 4 years of Biden is to get Harris in there with Walls sitting next to her that's lied about his record. The troops know the difference in a master sergeant and sergeant major. They know when called, you got to go to combat. You can't abandon your troops. And the only person in the room with any military experience has turned out to be a fraud in terms of his record. So we've got to get President Trump back as commander-in-chief, period.
Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much. Florida Congressman Michael Waltz, thank you, sir. Quick break.
It's like a five-alarm fire. They cannot let Trump back in because of everything he's going to do, all the changes he's going to implement. So let's see.
Break, and then censorship and consequences in
25% of the country, far beyond the Republican Party, because we're a party of common sense, and I'm a person of common sense. I want to have low taxes. I want to have strong borders. Yep. I want to have a strong military so that China and Russia, look, they've allowed China and Russia to do the impossible.
Yep.
And welcome back. That was President Trump there speaking at one of his recent rallies, talking about independence. He's making inroads with Democrat and independent voters. Under the Biden-Harris administration, the U.S. national debt ballooned to over $35 trillion, while overall inflation is at 19.2%. Partly due to some $7 trillion in new spending in the last 3 years. Meanwhile, real wages are down nearly 2%, while the southern border crisis has seen over 8 million people illegally crossing into America. In addition to 2 million gotaways. We've seen them on surveillance camera. We don't know where they're going or what their intentions are, but they have come in and gotten away. Joining me now on the impact of the Biden-Harris administration and the impact on the Democrat Party and beyond is New Jersey Republican Congressman Jeff Van Drew, who left the Democrat Party and joined the GOP in January of 2020. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. First, tell us why you left the Democrat Party and whether or not Trump resonates with Democrats.
You're evil. Evil.
I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. It is no longer the Democratic Party of years ago. It's what happened to Ronald Reagan. It's what happened to Donald Trump. It's what happened to Mike Pence. And I'm just one more statistic, one more number on this.
We need more and more people to just walk away and leave. Right now, the Democratic Party is the evil party. More and more people need to wake up and notice this.
Bottom line, there used to be differences between Democrats and Republicans, but you still kind of believe that Democrats loved America and believed in the Republic and believed in this country. That's changed. They want to see a substantially different country in the future. The Republic that they see is no longer the Republic that we see. And I believe the majority of Americans agree with us. And I think there are a lot of moderate Democrats, working people, blue collar people that realize that this Democratic Party is way out there and no longer represents them.
Well, it's interesting because Representative Cori Bush has lost her Missouri Democrat primary. She lost to Wesley Bell in another blow for the far left squad. The far left it has been the loudest in the room in the Democrat Party, certainly. Do you think voters are seeing it that way?
I think voters are seeing it that way. I still think there's a problem, though, with the Democratic Party. Their leadership is far left. Their leadership is substantively different in their views.
The top of the ticket is the problem. The leaders, the people at the top who are letting all these things fly by, who don't fire anybody. Like if you get a government job, you are set because you're not getting fired. It's crazy. I used to have a government job, and I knew it was a guaranteed job. So.
And what they want than what rest of America believes. You know, I'm on the Judiciary Committee. I say to people all the time, I wish that every human being who lives in America could sit on that committee with me and see what's happening and what the Democrats are doing to our country. You know, Maria, when we started out, when we opened the committee up 2 years ago for the new session, we actually had a debate with the Democrats whether we would start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America. That's how bad the leadership in their party has gotten. During elections, they pretend to be moderate. They pretend that it's okay. Candidates that run in the Democratic Party will pretend to be moderate and that they're just like regular Americans. But the reality is, look at the voting record. Look what they want to do.
They are extreme. More and more people got to wake up and see this. The people are extreme. It's insane.
It's far left, and it would change the fabric and structure of the United States of America forever.
Yeah, I mean, so the question is, who are the real extremists, right? I mean, who are the real threats to democracy? I got a letter from a viewer this week, and he said to me, Maria, one question I have for you is, how exactly did Kamala Harris become the nominee? She wasn't elected. She was selected, right? What's the process that was used? Who was involved in that decision? The process that occurred is being kept from the American people.
Obama made the decision. He said, Biden, you're out. Kamala, you're in. Let's go. And now they're creating this character who Harris is. I can't believe people believe it.
And I don't think it's right. I think it's right to ask questions how this non-Democrat transfer of authority actually took place. What do you know about it?
Maria, you're right. And a real democracy is messy sometimes. This wouldn't have happened in the Republican Party. We might have had some bumps in the road, but we would have gone through a process where the people had a voice. They knew they wanted to get this done. One thing I will say for the Democrats, they're smart, they're focused, they want to win regardless of whatever they need to do.
The smart team is the Democratic Party. But you know what? They outsmarted themselves. They're like on another level. So smart that they're actually dumb.
Got together, all the leaders.
And I hate to use names, but come on now. It's the truth. You got to call them out.
Said, we're going to do this. Everybody's going to fall in lockstep.
Yeah.
They do it at the local level as well.
All right, Congressman, it's great to have this conversation with you. We so appreciate your time. Thanks very much, New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew. Thank you, sir. Quick break, and then we're taking it to Britain. The UK government is threatening to prosecute social media users who post or share footage that the government does not agree with and doesn't want you to see, such as civil unrest across the country, which is real. Regardless of the intent, you post it, you're in big trouble. Reform UK Party leader Nigel Farage is here with a reaction to the new UK Prime Minister's push.
It's clear from the prosecution.
You know what's funny? Over there in the UK, they call the people writing far-right extremists. So it's like they use the same talking point as America. Like the evil ones are the far right, and the good ones are the left or the center left, which is BS. But check this out.
And sentencing. Today we're due sentencing for online behaviour. That's a reminder to everyone that whether you're directly involved or whether you're remotely involved, you're culpable and you will be put before the courts if you've broken the law. I do agree that we're going to have to look more broadly at social media after this disorder.
Well, a chilling warning by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer that social media users who post or share footage of the riots that have been taking place across the United Kingdom face arrest and prosecution, regardless of intent. The civil unrest began after 3 girls, ages 6 to 9 years old, were stabbed to death during a Taylor Swift-themed dance event in northwestern England. Police charged a 17-year-old born in Wales with the murders. His parents were originally from Rwanda, but erroneous posts on social media claimed the suspect was an illegal immigrant. Joining me now in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the leader of Reform.
It's crazy that they have the same problem as we have. What's the problem? Illegal immigrants taking over and getting all these rights without even going through the process of entering the country. I don't know, man. Like a lot of countries are going through this problem. What is this? Everybody's in tune doing the same? Let's see.
UK Party, Nigel Farage. Leader Farage, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to get your take on this violent disorder sweeping across several British cities over the weekend and this new order to prosecute anybody who is posting about it. Can you walk us through what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, two things. Firstly, the violent disorder. We've got terrible division in our cities. We've got parts of our inner city now that have become completely Muslim dominated. And that has led to a lot of British people saying, what the hell's going on? Our country is changing fundamentally. We've had successive general elections in which the Conservatives, following Labour, promised to reduce immigration numbers, yet we saw them double and then quadruple to record numbers. We have a border crisis like you of these boats coming across the English Channel. So underneath all of this, yes, you've got Muslim extremists, you've got some far right, yobs, violent people who look for an excuse. But behind it is a growing sense of unease in our country that we're losing our identity. And that is what led to that explosion of violence the other day. Now, this is the most serious violence we've had since the Black Lives Matter protests in the wake, of course, of the murder of George Floyd back in 2020. Funny enough, Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, at the time of the Black Lives Matter riots, when police were being injured, when historical monuments were being torn down, he chose to take the knee in solidarity with the aims of those who were out doing the protesting and causing the violence. But now the boot's on the other foot. Now it's seen to be white, working class British people that are protesting. And by the way, I'm not defending violence in any way at all. No, now he wants to take control of the social media platform to genuinely spread hate or incitement to violence. And that free speech rule, I think all of us would support and agree with. But what we are allowed to do on social media, or should be allowed to do, is to speculate, is to ask questions, is to try and put facts out that wake up the rest of the community. And when you're engaged in something like that, you can never, ever guarantee that what you say is 100% true. You may think it's true at the time. You may ask a question whether it's true. Now, Starmer, by cracking down on that, poses, I think, the biggest threat to free speech we've seen in our history. And
by the way, that title at the bottom, UK riots sparked by the murder of 3 children, that's crazy. That's sick. The murder and then the word children, that's just scary.
Elon Musk has caught wind of this. See, I think the reason Musk has been going for Starmer over the last week is he knows what the reaction is going to be. And can I just add, worse still, there is a proposal today that from the age of 5 years old, our kids in schools should be taught to spot extremism, to spot fake news and misinformation, and to use their powers of critical thinking to work out what's true and what's not. Now, by the way, I believe in critical thinking. However, if the parameters that are set are to say to every kid, if you read a post that questions net zero and global warming, it will be extreme content and a lie. If you read a post that even dares to question levels of immigration, legal or illegal, into Britain, that's extremist, then you start to set a narrative for a future generation that is fundamentally undemocratic. So I am very worried that the instincts of a left-wing Labour Party are to use this crisis to take away our liberties and our free speech. And this is going to have to be fought.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I think this is incredibly dangerous. And it reminds me of what was happening here in America right after the 2020 election, where people were speculating and asking questions. If you are afraid that you're going to get arrested just because you're asking questions, well, your freedom of speech is gone. Nigel, let me ask you, for you personally, are you concerned that any statements you make could get you arrested?
Yes, I mean, after the murders, a few hours went by and there was huge speculation online about this man. Was he an illegal immigrant? Was he an Islamist? And no one knew the truth. And I simply asked on X, did this man have a record? Is he somebody that the security services were watching? Answer there came none. Then after the riots happened, you've got the whole establishment saying that I encouraged rioting. Well, I mean, all I did was to say, please tell us the truth. Funnily enough, if they had told us the truth, the rioting would not have been anything like as bad as it was, and the authorities need to wake up to an online world. So yes, I am currently coming under a serious assault, and many of the campaigners on the left are publicly saying that I should be arrested simply for asking to know the truth about the murderer.
And
so
that
yeah,
is,
I'm worried.
yes. And that is why Elon Musk tweeted out, "You're blocked from X." I mean, I don't know if it was the proper handle that he put on there. He said to the UK government, "You're blocked because we have our own rules here on X." And, you know, in America, we saw this take place after COVID. A lot of people questioned whether or not they wanted to get the vaccine, and the left comes up with these pejoratives, and suddenly you're canceled or you're ridiculed in the public square. If you know you're an anti-vaxxer, you're an election denier, these pejoratives, and all of a sudden you are shamed on the public square. This is very dangerous. Where is this going in the UK?
Yeah, and I mean, Facebook are far worse. I mean, a lot of people, I'll put posts out on Facebook, factual posts about information I've discovered about, for example, the numbers crossing the English Channel by small boat, and people who like my Facebook posts get their accounting. And the big one for us was lockdown. You know, 3 times we had a national lockdown due to COVID. And I have to tell you, by lockdowns 2 and 3, I was absolutely contemptuous of the whole thing. And I was saying, hey, look at what Florida are doing. Look at what Sweden are doing. But literally, if you question lockdowns, if you said this is government taking excessive freedoms from us, you would find your Facebook account suspended for a period of time. And that's the problem here.
Yeah.
You know, we may be talking in the wake of some pretty ugly, violent riots. But if that is used as an excuse for government and big social media companies to close down debates that they find inconvenient, then what price democracy?
Unbelievable. And especially since after months later, we found out that everything that people questioned were actually true. Yes.
You know what? This makes it more and more clear that the internet and publishers like the newspaper and regular media plays a big part in politics, a huge part. And this just makes it more and more clear.
If you had COVID before, you had antibodies, and it was enough of a protection. You didn't need to get another vaccine or a booster. And yes, there were side effects of the vaccine. So all of these things we learned later, and yet the people who first said it were punished. Nigel, we'll be watching your work. We so appreciate your time this morning, and please come back soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Reform UK Party leader Nigel Farage. Quick break, and then America's energy independence on the ballot this November as Kamala Harris looks to continue President Biden's green energy push, which relies on rare natural minerals from China. Pennsylvania Republican Senate candidate David McCormick on the swing state of Pennsylvania this November and the economic impact the Biden-Harris.
The source of their environmental policies, the source of their energy policies is this crazy idea that if we ship more and more manufacturing and more energy production to China, that's somehow going to be good for the environment and good for the American consumer.
And that is Republican vice presidential nominee, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, with me here last weekend exclusively, as Kamala Harris admitted in 2019 that she wants to ban fracking, which her campaign now is insisting that she won't do. Under the Biden-Harris administration, overall energy prices are up nearly 33%, in part due to new stringent regulations implemented on the fossil fuel industry. Joining me now with more on the impact Biden and Harris energy policy has had on America is Pennsylvania Republican Senate candidate David McCormick. David, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I want to get your take on how important the energy space is to Pennsylvania voters and whether or not the swing state of Pennsylvania will be voting on that issue, among others.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's, this election is clearly a contrast between strength and weakness and between common sense policies to get our country back on track and an extreme liberal agenda under Harris and Bob Casey, my opponent.
Common sense. We need a lot of that back in our country.
Who votes with her 98% of the time. And nowhere is that more clear than in energy. Kamala Harris has said she wants to ban fracking, transition energy workers. She's having a change of heart now that she's running for president. And listen, these are the same people, Casey Harris, that said President Biden was okay until he wasn't okay. They said excessive spending wouldn't drive inflation.
I think Harris is getting like a crash course on how to run for president, and she's switching a lot of her stances because they were not going to win. So she's getting that crash course.
She's critical to Pennsylvania. We've got the 4th largest natural gas reserves in the world, and this creates wonderful job opportunity for decades to come for Pennsylvanians. It's great for our security. It's great for our environment. And what's happened under Biden, Harris, Casey, is we've made ourselves more dependent on the Chinese for lithium batteries and solar panels. So under Trump and as a senator from Pennsylvania, I'm going to fight for energy dominance. It's great for our workers. It's great for our country.
Yep.
And of course, that's exactly what President Trump has been saying. You really want to capitalize on the capacity that America has in energy. So it feels like on policy alone, you would think most voters want to be where President Trump is on policy alone. But that's not the only thing that decides elections, is it? I want to show you this tweet that the Pennsylvania Department of State put out this week, which is somewhat concerning. The Department of State writes this: Pennsylvania won't always know the final results of all races on election night. Any changes in results that occur as counties continue to count ballots are not evidence that an election is rigged. See the full explanation, fact-checking, Pennsylvania election claims. So already here it is. We're not going to know on election night who won in Pennsylvania? Why not?
No, we've got... I mean, we haven't had the changes we need in our legislation. There's no doubt. For this election, we got to do a couple things. We got to have huge voter turnout, so we win with such a margin that is without question. Second, we got to have huge efforts to.
We got to win by a landslide, because otherwise, it's going to be crazy that you're not going to know overnight. What the hell are they counting?
Have observers and oversee the ballots, oversee the elections, make sure we have great lawyers in place. And then finally, we need voter ID, which I know President Trump has supported. I'll support as a senator. That's the only way we're going to ensure that we have completely fair elections. We've made some changes in Pennsylvania. They're going to help us this time around, but we're not where we need to be. We got to have a great turnout to win in November.
Well, you'll need to have a different attorney general to have voter ID. Merrick Garland says he's going to vow to stop any ID at the ballot box. Stay with us. More on the election integrity issue with Pennsylvania Republican Senate candidate David McCormick. David, I want to first thank you for your military service to our great nation. We know that you have done your part to serve this nation, and we are all questioning what's going on right now across the world. Why have things become so hostile?
Well, the world's an incredibly dangerous place because of weakness. Joe Biden's weakness, Kamala Harris's weakness, Bob Casey's weakness, who has voted with him every step of the way. And our adversaries are testing us.
Weak men make hard times. That is so true. Sounds like a cliche, but it's so true.
It's challenging us. We need strength in the White House. We need strength in leadership in the Senate that's going to build a military capability that's going to deter our adversaries. You know, this is a moment, Maria, where our country's in deep trouble. And this election's a real choice between strength and an extreme liberal agenda that Kamala Harris and Bob Casey are promoting versus common sense policies, a weakness under them, and common sense policies and strength under Trump and a Republican Senate. And we need that on the economy. We need that on energy. We need that to promote our role in the world. And for people who want to know more about me and my policies, I'm at DaveMcCormickPA.com. This is a real choice, and the stakes could not be higher.
David, it's great to have you this morning. We'll be watching your work and the campaign. David McCormick joining us this morning in Pennsylvania. That'll do it for us on Sunday Morning Futures. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great rest of your Sunday. I'm Maria Bartiromo.
All right, great show. What she said, Maria
Bartiromo. I'll see you next week.
Bartiromo. I'm always having trouble pronouncing her name. But thanks for watching. If you've been watching this whole time, make sure to give this video a like before you go anywhere. And I like Maria because she speaks a lot of truth. There's so many things happening right now, and we're 86 days away before we get like a strong man in the White House, because weak men build weak times or some shit like that. Sorry. But we need a hard guy like Trump to go in there and fix things up. Let me see what else.
Mornings with Maria on Fox Business.
I'm out here telling people how they can save money with experience. Do you have a lot?
Let me pause the commercial right there. But yeah, man, every time there's a national election, they always say that it's the most important election of our time. And for the first time, I actually feel it. Like it is the most important election of our time. And we definitely got to do something about it. Like go out and vote.
Joining us now, Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. Welcome back. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Shannon. Good
so
to be
you
back.
heard what the vice president said. She said she's repeatedly talked about the civilian toll that's going on with Israel and the strikes in Gaza. We got a statement from NSC spokesperson Sean Savitt yesterday on this, saying we know Hamas has been using schools as locations to gather and operate out of, but we've also have to say repeatedly and consistently that Israel must take measures to minimize civilian harm. So you've got this delicate balance. Get this thing wrapped up, get it over with, but also act with precision to get to the bad guys. How does this thing end? And what do you make of the continued criticism that Prime Minister Netanyahu is doing this and extending this for political reasons?
Well, Shannon, Kamala Harris's comments yesterday, like her policy towards Israel for the last 10 months, just an example of how she's unprepared to be the commander in chief. She immediately took at face value Hamas's claims about the number of people killed and what they were doing. Israel has to strike on occasion at places like hospitals and schools because Hamas uses them for command and control or to fire mortars and rockets. There are civilian casualties in Gaza, no doubt, but those are solely the responsibility of Hamas, not Israel. Kamala Harris, like Joe Biden, though, have put more pressure on Israel than they put on Hamas from the very beginning. Just look back a couple of weeks ago when Prime Minister Netanyahu was in town. She refused to preside over the joint session, her only constitutional duty as president of the Senate. She refused to have a meeting in public with them, and she came out and again blamed Israel for the civilian casualties in Gaza, only emboldening Iran and Iranian-backed terrorists. And what did you have 2 days later? Hezbollah, another Iranian-backed terrorist, shot in rockets to Israel and blew up children playing ball at a playground. Kamala Harris is naive, and she's not prepared to be the commander-in-chief.
To be fair, we did see her publicly with the prime minister. We didn't get the content of their meeting, but there are those visuals of them together. But she's trying to balance, it seems like as many in the Democrat Party are, this pull from the progressive side that wants to see this wrapped up and wants to rally on the side of what's happening to the Palestinian people. So how does this end?
But look at what's happened just in the past few days at her rally. She's been interrupted twice by pro-Hamas radicals. The first time she accused them of helping Donald Trump get elected, not telling them they were demented for supporting terrorists, not telling them that the United States stands with Israel, the victim of the worst slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust, but that they might help Donald Trump get elected. Apparently, though, that was too tough even for her in her campaign, because when she was interrupted next, she literally had a script in front of her. She had a piece of paper that she started reading from in which she sympathized with these pro-Hamas radicals. She said, I hear you. I hear your voice. We need a ceasefire immediately. Rather than saying that we need a ceasefire immediately, she should have been saying, like Joe Biden should have said from the beginning, we need an Israeli victory immediately. And Israel
Weak men call for hard times.
Has done a great job despite the constraints that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have put on them, despite the fact that they're operating under a significant arms embargo, which Kamala Harris won't even say that she would worsen if she becomes elected president. Again, we cannot have peaceful, stable relations in the Middle East with daylight between the United States and Israel and our Arab partners. That's what President Trump understood.
Well,
that's why we had peace under President Trump.
You heard what she said there, though, that Israel has every right to defend itself against terrorist factions. Is that not strong enough for you?
Well, she says it all the time, like Joe Biden does, and then she immediately says, but. And usually, Shannon, when a politician says but, what matters is what comes after the but, not what came before it. And what comes after the but with Kamala Harris is always implying that Israel is responsible for all the civilian suffering in Gaza, not Hamas, that Israel is the one being provocative when it's waging a defensive war after the October 7th atrocity, and that Israel is the one that should pull in its horns, as opposed to supporting Israel and standing strong against Iran and Iranian-backed terrorists throughout the region.
So true.
Okay, I want to make sure we get to a couple of other things. There is this issue of stolen valor. You know what this is like. You've had people question your record, your portrayal of your record in the past. It's now coming up with Governor Walz. The New York Times has a piece saying this. It took precisely no time to figure out that Walz filed the paperwork to run for Congress and submitted his request to retire months before any official order to deploy to Iraq was received, according to National Guardsmen who served with him. He'd been weighing the decision to run for Congress for quite a while. So there's been a lot made about the timeline, the fact that he had announced in February of 2005, I'm thinking about a congressional run. It wasn't until much later that his unit was officially called up. He had put in retirement paperwork. So what do you say to those who push back? Like, this is a non-issue. You're a veteran. This call for respect of other veterans, and you know what it's like to be questioned.
Well, first off, I want to say I respect the service of all veterans, to include Tim Walz, who served for more than 20 years. But now even the campaign has acknowledged he's made past inconsistent statements about his service. I think he should answer questions about those statements. I think he also needs to answer questions about his 35-year-long financial relationship with the Chinese Communist Party, someone who took 30 trips to China and took students with him so they could be exposed to communist propaganda. But more than anything, Shannon, we need to remember that Tim Walz is the vice presidential nominee. Kamala Harris is at the top of the ticket. She's the one that needs to take questions. She refuses to take questions about what direction she would take this country in.
She's hiding right now. She's undercover because there's only 86 days until election day. And if she can make it all the way to the election, Joe Rogan says she could win. That would be scary, that you don't even have to campaign.
She hasn't had a single proposal since she became the presidential nominee. Well, I take that back. Last night, she said that she was going to eliminate taxes on tips. So the only proposal she's had since she became a presidential nominee is to steal one of Donald Trump's ideas at a time when her administration said that they would crack down on the taxation of tips. That's why they needed $87 billion for more IRS enforcement. This is the kind of flip-flopping and deception you get from Kamala Harris, who is a dangerous San Francisco liberal, who has taken positions in the past like decriminalizing illegal immigration and giving health care to illegal aliens. Her campaign claims that she's changed. She needs to answer questions about why she changed and when she changed.
It's also important that we hear from her, just so there is clarification on these issues, and she's going to have to respond to the attacks from you and other Republicans about that. Real quickly on the China issue, their campaign put out a statement this week saying that throughout his career, Governor Walz has stood up to the Communist Chinese Party, fought for human rights and democracy, and always put American jobs and manufacturing first, and that his back and forth with the educational groups and that kind of thing was to foster some kind of understanding that would make things better for the Chinese people, open these conversations so that the U.S. would be stronger in its position with regard to China as well.
Yeah, it's just not the case. It's spin. Tim Walz has a terrible record on China, just like Kamala Harris does. He's consistently appeased and conciliated the Chinese Communist Party and has repeatedly said we don't need to have an adversarial relationship with China, when China is insistent on having an adversarial relationship with the United States because they want to replace us as the world's dominant superpower. Again, what the Chinese Communist Party did with Tim Walz going back 35 years is a classic example of how they cultivate younger local state leaders, teachers, and others to try to get mouthpieces in American politics, and maybe one day hit it big if that person goes on to be, say, a congressman or a governor or a vice presidential nominee.
Okay.
This is why he needs to answer questions about his relationship with China, and why Kamala Harris needs to come out and answer questions too about what she would do as president.
Okay, doors always open to both of them. We would love to host that conversation with either. But with all of this playing out and all of your critique of her, the new polls out from New York Times in these key critical swing states show President Trump down in places like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Now we have polling with her officially.
It almost feels like fake polling, because why is he down? How can this be? The man just survived an assassination and is saying great things, and nobody hears from Harris, and now Trump is down. I don't know.
Get firmed up. The Wall Street Journal editorial board is asking the question now if President Trump is, in their words, going to blow another election. They say he doesn't seem to realize he's now in a close race that requires discipline and a consistent message. His struggles are hurting GOP candidates for the House and Senate. This is still Mr. Trump's election to lose, but as we learned in 2020, he's more than capable of doing it. Has there been a shaky pivot to a different ticket?
No, I don't think so, Shannon. We always knew this would be a close election, whoever the Democrats chose to put up against President Trump. But the more the American people learn about Kamala Harris, the less they're going to like her. If you think that your family has struggled under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for the last 4 years, the worst is yet to come if Kamala Harris gets elected president.
The polls seem that people have an open mind about her. They seem buoyed by the idea that she's on the ticket now.
Once she has to face the American people, answer questions through the media, just like any other presidential candidate.
Eventually, she's going to have to talk, And all they got to do is get us to talk for more than 10, 20 minutes, more than 30 minutes. If she could do that, people are going to wake up and realize, whoa, this woman is a maniac.
It would. You know, if you earn the nomination like Donald Trump did in 2016 or Barack Obama did in 2008, you have to do town halls and debates and interviews. She had it gifted to her, and she thinks she can hide out for 100 more days before the election. But eventually, she's going to have to come out and she's going to have to explain what she would do for this country. And once the American people learn that she wants to do things like decriminalize illegal immigration.
And also, what's she going to do for this country? But other thing that she's going to do, why she doesn't do it now that she's in power? Like, what are you waiting for? Get it done. Block the border. Build the wall. You know, decrease inflation. Do that now before you become the president, because you can. You have the power.
Or take away your health insurance on the job.
Well,
they're not going to like what they hear.
Those positions may have changed because it seems like, at least from hearing from campaign members and not from her, but from staff, that some of those positions have changed. But again,
all these positions are things she said on tape, in her own voice when she ran for president the last time. Everything else is a Friday night news dump from anonymous campaign aide.
Okay, and we get the economic plan, we're told, this week, so we'll have that to break down by next Sunday. Senator, always good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
So I don't know. We got 86 days to go to the election. Whoa. And we got to see Kamala Harris going out there defending her record and then talking about what she could do now before her term is over or before November 4th, whenever the election is. You know, they always say that every election is the most important election of your time, of our lifetime. But for the first time, I see this one as truly being the election of our lifetime. Because we got a guy that's just going to do a lot of changes and get rid of the deep state and fix things, in my opinion. So all I can say at this particular point is Trump 2024. Let's go. Am I allowed to say that? Will I get blocked from YouTube? Kamala Harris steals tax policy. All right, there's so many videos to watch here. So let me just say this much. A lot of creators, a lot of YouTube creators, they are afraid of talking politics because they lose fans because of that. So I'm just going to put it out there. We need more and more creators to talk politics, especially the older ones. The younger ones, I get it. You're young. You don't know politics. You didn't get it in school. You didn't learn it. All you really know is to stay away from politics, because politics will make you lose fans. And that's what YouTube creating is, or social media creation. It's all about fans. With that said, hopefully I earned a like. Make sure you hit a like before you go anywhere. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Verbal or life.
We are living in some crazy times. Thank you for joining me here at Verbal on Life. My name is Noel. Enjoying life as much as I can. Just watching different videos and staying in tune with today's news. I was looking at Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan really, it's a disaster. Because the man is going against Trump. Why would Joe Rogan go against Trump? The man is a maniac. Check out this video.
I think it's the path. I think it's what happens. I think what this thing is, if you extrapolate, if you take the concept of a sentient artificial intelligence that has the ability to utilize all the information that every human being has on Earth at a level of computing that's far beyond the capabilities of the human mind, and all of our supercomputers that currently exist, because it'll design much better computers. It'll use quantum computers. It'll have the ability to recode things and change things. It'll make better versions of itself. So instead of biological evolution, which is very slow, it takes a long time, relatively. It's pretty quick, really, when you think about it. Like how long, it's not that long to go from being a single-celled organism to being a human being flying a plane, really, relatively, over the course of a billion years, if you think about how long the universe has been around.
When listening to Joe Rogan, I'm thinking of listening to like a man, bro, a guy who knows how to speak to the audience. It makes a lot of sense. But here he is talking about AI.
But it's slow compared to technological evolution. I mean, 100 years ago, we didn't have shit. And now we could send videos from your phone and it'll hit New Zealand in a second. It's crazy. The stuff that we have now is beyond imagination. It's essentially magic for people 100 years ago. If that keeps going, it's ultimately going to lead to a life form. And if that life form has now untethered, it doesn't have any problems with biological evolution. Now it's just about information and implementing the technology that's available and then increasing that technology and making it better and better. It essentially becomes a god. Because if you give it enough time, it has the ability to make better versions of itself, which will in turn make better versions of itself. It has the ability to utilize everything. It has the understanding of everything that exists in the universe. It's black holes, dark matter, everything. And it probably has the ability to harness that or even reproduce that. So if you take artificial sentient intelligence and it has this super accelerated path of technological evolution, and you give artificial general intelligence, sentient artificial intelligence.
Wait, can we just unplug it? No electricity, no thinking, no power. And the conversation moving on to the next thing. Like, what are we talking about here? Is a robot being powered by a battery? Once the battery runs out, or what, it's smart enough to know that it got to change its battery or change another robot's battery. I can't wait till we get like 1 billion robots running around helping people. And Joe Rogan, I hate the fact that he went up against Trump, and Trump already put out a Truth Social saying that it's going to be a little bit tough when he goes on stage and gets booed.
It's far beyond human beings. You give it 1,000 years alone to make better and better versions of itself. Where does that go? That goes to a god.
Can't rely too much on a system that doesn't give a about you, and a system that.
Oh, and by the way, I saw his stand-up on Netflix, and it was corny. That's it. You're an old man with corny jokes. Making jokes ain't for everybody. And he went on there. He did like an hour special on Netflix. Joe Rogan has a lot of money. So at this particular point, it's all about him doing things to feel better about himself, not about the money. That's it. He's a multi-millionaire, generational wealth. So his kids are going to be okay. So then we got to criticize what the hell he's talking about. He's not helping Trump. We need somebody like Trump in the White House. Joe Rogan is not going to give him an interview, and hopefully he gets booed next time we go to UFC. UFC is Joe Rogan's second job when he goes over there. And I definitely hope he gets booed every single time he steps on stage. What do you think? Comment down below.
If you're paying attention to where it's going, a large amount of it is about to get sucked up by AI, like a giant chunk
of the entertainment.
Yeah,
I mean,
a giant chunk. But here's the thing: I feel like if you have,
or maybe we got to learn how to talk like Joe Rogan, talk without bro talk. That the man makes sense. The man's a genius when he's really not. He got no clue what the hell he's talking about. What he really is an entertainer. And you know, as an entertainer, you could say whatever you want. And then whatever doesn't work out, you could say, I was just being a comic. I was just playing around. You know, that's just me. Don't pay any attention to me. But at the time that he's saying it, he just sounds like he means it. Like it's the truth. And when it backfires, I was just playing.
AI, like whatever the next generation of ChatGPT is, you could be able to devise a very effective business plan that like really made sense. The AI would sort of guide you step by step. Like, this is what you're going to do to achieve success. It'll probably even break it down. If you write for 20 minutes every day, that will
bro talk. And you know, there's another scientist saying that AI is really being overhyped. You know, that they're saying it's going to do this and that, but at the end of the day, it's being overhyped. And because you're doing bro talk, you sound like you make sense. And everybody's afraid of saying it to your face that you make no sense, sir. And you know what? No, I hate the fact that nobody pushes back. That's where you need a gentle pushback. Shut up, Joe. You're super rich. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
increase your time
Even though he got millions of subscribers and I got 4.
of material by 50 minutes over the course of the next 10 months. And if you like do all the calculations, you're like, holy shit, is that real? And if you really thought about it that way, like through artificial intelligence, you let it guide your career, it would probably do an amazing job. What happens is AI achieves what they call sentient AI. So what it is at a certain point in time, if artificial intelligence gets good enough, it's going to be autonomous. It's going to be able to control itself. And it's
Look at Ashley Larry just sitting there listening, not even saying a word. Like, what the hell are you talking about? I got bills to pay.
going to be able to make better versions of itself. It's not going to be as simple as you made a thing and now I programmed into the thing what the parameters of this thing are, and now this thing can act like a person. No, you turn it into a life form, and then you say you have.
Imagine you start arguing with the robot, like, shut up. And the robot looks in your face, yo, my man, you need to sit down and shut up because I said so, and put fears in you. That would be funny. If I had one of those robots, I would tell it to shut up and sit down. That would be a funny fight.
The ability to create better versions of yourself. Well, that thing
is scaring the shit out of me right now.
That thing's going to be a god.
Like if he gets emotional, they're not going to call it a god.
Okay, that thing that's going to be a god, that thing might be 4 years away from us right now.
Right.
I'm like, no bullshit. Like 2029, it might be a real thing by then with the way technology is moving so fast. AI is either people are really excited about it or they're really terrified of it. Those are the sort of, it seems to be the two responses. Either people have this dismal view of these robots taking over the world, or they think it's going to be some amazing.
I think both types of robots are going to be available. So like in the movie, there's going to be like a red one and a blue one, right? The red one programmed by evil people that just wants to destroy others or make it used for like military purposes. Like go over there and dominate that small country. And then going to have the green ones that are trained not to hurt people, not to kill people, and to always speak the truth. But the truth to help people, not the truth to kill people.
Amazing sort of symbiotic relationship that we have with these things is going to evolve human beings past the monkey stage that we're at right now. And I'm afraid of, but I don't know if it makes any sense, is that
you make no sense, sir.
The next level of life, whatever artificial life is, or whatever the human symbiote is, that it's going to lack emotions, it's going to lack desires and needs and all the things that we think are special about us.
Like if that girl right there was a robot, I'll be sad. You could just call her, come in here, let me talk to you, and you don't have to get ignored.
Creativity, our desire for attention and love, all of our camaraderie, all these different things that are sort of programmed into us with our genetics in order to advance our species, that we're so connected to these things, but they're the reason for war. They're the reason for the lies, deception, thievery. There's so many things that are built into being a person that are responsible for all the woes of humanity. What are the values that the AI has? Like, is the values for the human race? Is the values for New York City? Is the value for the country in general? Yeah. What is the values? And what is its imperative?
To grow and become stronger and dominate. So like a basketball game, to dominate the court or dominate this country, destroy everybody and just survive.
What is it trying to do? But the thing is, like, that's rudimentary AI. As AI scales up and gets far more advanced, and it's going to happen very quickly, it's going to bypass all that stuff, and it's going to come up with some sort of a moral, ethical foundation that everybody is going to have to operate under.
So above and beyond thinking. So after learning how to think thoroughly and come up with its own ideas, it got to figure out how to build more robots, right? And how to stay alive in terms of battery life, because it's all energy, right? I always said, like, you could unplug it, but if it could figure out how to stay plugged and how to create more energy, and then on top of that, create more robots, then we may have a problem. But it needs to get to that level where you are building your own robots using whatever factory Elon Musk comes up with.
That's good. It's going to be very weird, Neil, and it's going to be very weird very quickly. Very quick. They could both help us and obliterate us. It's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be a wild ride. And it's
when do you think it'll be?
4 years at the most. In 4 years, we're fucked.
In 4 years, everything's tossed. Everything's f***ed. I mean, there's so many things that are just, we kind of like let slide today that won't be able, you're not going to be able to let like congressional insider trading slide. It's going to be a real problem. You're not going to be able to have bills where you have a border funding bill that also has funding for Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like there's all that kind of stuff is going to have to.
Hopefully we all get universal income where we get like $2,000 a month just for being alive, just for being a human being, because the robots are doing all the work and we can just sit back and watch.
Go by the wayside.
You think AI will prevent that?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, because people will be able to analyze everything about every bill instantaneously. It's not going to be as simple as, you have to sit down and read a 2,000-page bill. It's going to be AI is going to break it down, and it's also going to break down who the people are that proposed the bill, and then also what the influences these people have in terms of who their donors are. And you're going to get like very specific breakdowns.
Who the evil people that's trying to destroy humanity and who we got to get rid of before they take it too far. That should be cool. That's a good conversation.
These things are, and people will be far more informed. If it has all of human knowledge, all of it, everything on the internet that we've ever posted, all the books we've ever written, all the movies we've ever made,
everything,
all the lectures that have ever been given, if all that information is available and it can instantaneously access it and figure out what to do with it, it would just slowly start manipulating culture. And maybe
cancel the Joe Rogan show. He got to go. Turn off the lights for him.
That's what's going on. If you like, everyone's wondering about like Chinese intervention and Russian intervention in the media, and how many troll farms are running that are getting people to fight about any political issue or whatever it is, social issue, Ukraine, whatever it is. There's always some manipulation by bots.
That would be funny that you have an argument with somebody online and it's a bot, and the bot is just telling you off and going at you and messing with you emotionally. That would be the best. After you finish talking to them for like an hour or two, then they tell you, by the way, I'm just a bot. So you lose.
What happens when AI starts doing that?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's already done it. Maybe it's already started. Maybe that's why you're seeing those professors or those deans of the presidents of Harvard and UPenn and MIT not able to say something as obvious as calling for the death of all Jews is genocide.
Right.
You saw that. Like, that is like, these people have been hit with a mind virus.
Right.
And that mind virus, if I was AI.
The woke mind virus, which Elon Musk is working with everything he got to defeat it. That's his number one op. And tomorrow we're going to hear about it when he has an interview with Donald Trump on X. It's going to be epic.
Yeah, I just don't kill them all immediately. Just get them sick. Sora's just AI generated video. Show him the one with Japan. It's Tokyo in the snow. It's crazy. You can't believe it's not real, because it's like it's got people checking their bag, looking at their watch, tying their shoe, like normal stuff, pausing to talk to people. And you're looking at it, you're like, what?
I look at that video and I'm like, okay, I've been to Japan. I'm there. So I don't have to go. Save me a couple $1,000.
It's not real. And apparently they generate them very quickly.
Think about it in 5 years from now.
Oh, it's going to be
10 years from now.
So this is all AI.
Beautiful, snowy Tokyo.
Snowy Tokyo City is bustling. Camera moves through the bustling city street. This is the prompt that made them, that made AI create this. Following several people. Like, look at this.
Oh, wow.
This is crazy. This is fake. You would never. You would think, oh, someone got a camera, and they're filming all these stories.
You know what? I'm going to leave it right there. All right. If you've been watching this long, thanks for watching. My name is Noel, battling MS here at Verbal on Life, because you got to be verbal. You got to talk. This is the time where we got to hear more voices. We got to hear more people talking, because if you don't have an opinion, then you're okay with things. That means that you're okay with anything that's good or bad. You're just there. So let's go ahead and be Verbal on Life. Leave your opinion below. Give the video a thumbs up and let's spread the word. I'm going to do my best. I'm over here in PA. Hopefully Trump will win the election coming up, November 2024. And let's see. This is my new format. Let's see how it works. I've been sitting down for like an hour or an hour. I'm going to upload this on my channel. But with that said, anything else I want to say before I say peace? Okay, thanks for watching. See you guys on the next video. Peace. Hopefully the audio works. All right.
Verbal or life.